What's going on, everyone? It's Jarrod D here, and it is time for another review of Lovers and Friends. This time we're going to talk about episode 2. And before we jump in, I do want to say about my last video, I did speak on the inclusion of this contestant with their video, Trey Money, who I mistakenly thought was a trans woman. Turns out that the creator of the show did comment on my video and said that they were not a trans woman, that they were just a man dressed as a woman. So that wasn't really clear to me, and so that's why I gave the commentary that I did on the last episode. So, I stand corrected. And, I apologize if I offended anyone with that. But we will move on into this episode. It's so interesting because I feel like when I watch these things as like a bystander, I feel like I'm like a relationship expert. But when I'm in it, I don't, for whatever reason, it doesn't work for me. But hopefully someday soon that will change. But anyway, we're going to talk about this mixer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about Dennis's conversations first, and then we're going to talk about Lionel's conversations. So let's talk about Dennis. I mean, it was very relatable that he was a little bit nervous walking in. I feel like he definitely found his stride. He didn't really seem to succumb to that nervousness, whereas I thought Lionel actually did. But we'll get to Lionel in a minute. I know if I had been in that situation, I got a bunch of men in the room that's looking at me, I would have been in my element. I would have just been like, okay, all eyes are on me and I could, my pick? Are you kidding? I would be excited. When Dennis was giving his introduction, then there was a guy in the back, his name was Mike. He said, when you wrap up, I got a seat right here for you. And I thought that was like, so sexy. It's like, just, you have to show that you're confident. I mean, you say something like that, you get first dibs. And it seemed like he could back it up because the conversation between them seemed to be going well. But then this random dude came over in the middle of their conversation, who we learn later is D. D jumps in and says, he made you sit down for what? And it was just like, why are you starting a fight with some random dude? How do you expect that to be something that is attractive? But I don't know, for whatever reason it worked for Dennis. That would be a turnoff for me. That would be a red flag for me. You come over and insert yourself into a conversation and not only politely try to infiltrate the conversation. Like, there are ways to kind of get into a conversation if it's a networking type of atmosphere, but he jumped in and was immediately confrontational to Mike. And so that's like, okay, so you obviously you're ready to go. And it's just like, it doesn't need to be all that. Like, I don't know why a couple of these dudes were ready for drama. Dennis went and talked to D. They seemed to hit it off well. But in their conversation, Dennis was asking him, why was he, right? Why was he ready for love? Or why was he on Lovers and Friends? And D's answers were, I'm human, I'm single and ready to mingle. And none of that really answers anything. And I don't know. I wasn't feeling you, D. I wasn't feeling you. It just seemed very generic answers. Like, you weren't giving me anything. So, but I mean, look, I guess we all kind of have blinders on if we're really attracted to somebody, and I could see that Dennis was attracted to this guy. Hey, it worked for him, but unfortunately, I don't think that Dennis really saw what was going on there, or really peeped that D wasn't really giving him much anything. So at the very end of the lineup of one-on-ones with Dennis, he spoke with Lonnie. So it was, this cute guy with he had the braces. They both had a nice little connection there. They were talking about how they were both from Ohio. Lonnie reached out and rubbed his head and all. And there was definitely a little bit of a spark there. So for me, Lonnie seemed like the obvious choice for Dennis. They seemed to kind of click the best out of all of them. So now let's talk about Lionel. Lionel didn't really even talk. And he said he's not a conversation starter. So I feel like, at the end of the day, you kind of miss an opportunity. And I understand that there's some discomfort, but you got to get in there, man. I mean, like, I don't know what else to say. You just kind of have to get over that and start talking to these people. It's a lot easier, I would think, to go into a situation where everybody's intentions and everybody's understanding is set up that they know that they're supposed to talk to you regardless. So there's really no risk. Nobody's going to immediately diss you or anything like that because they are here for you. So that's not anything you have to worry about. So I'm not sure why he was so nervous about having conversations with these guys who were primed to talk to him. He had some strange interactions from some of these people, especially Eric. And this is the one who was dropping it low for Jesus in the last episode. So, I mean, I guess I'm not so surprised. The first question that he asked was, what is his position, top, bottom, verse? I agree with Lionel on that one. That's not the first question you ask somebody. Like, to get to know me a little bit, and then we'll get to that point. Because there are so many assumptions that people make based on that. And sometimes they'll just completely end any kind of conversation based on that answer, which is unfortunate. But then he asked him, do you have a gun and would you shoot your ex? Where are these questions coming from? Like, what? So I was completely with Lionel on that. That was just a strange interaction. And then another dude came over and I guess was trying to talk to him nowhere near as rudely as D was trying to infiltrate the conversation that I talked about before. But then Eric decided to try to come at him and say, oh, I see you got your maid outfit on. I mean, it was just like, okay, first of all, unoriginal. And second of all, why are you trying to start a fight at an event where you're like that? How does that come off as attractive to anyone? That's not attractive. So that was the second almost fight that they had at that event. And I don't know why we feel like we gotta confront somebody all the time or come at somebody's neck all the time. Like, it's not necessary. So Lionel went from one problematic person to the other one with D. When he had the conversation with D was saying, oh, I'm not really looking for love. I'm looking to gain love. Like, what does that mean? What are these answers that you're giving? And he said that he was just out of a relationship, like 2 weeks, I think he said, and then he changed it to like a month after. Sir, why are you here? Obviously, he is not ready for a relationship if he's not able to answer these questions with some sincerity and not give me some sound bites that he heard on The Bachelor. So Lionel's conversation with Lonnie actually seemed to be the first normal one that he had, which is unfortunate. I feel like had Lionel been more open and more social with some of the guys there, he would have been able to find out who is a better fit. There were too many good-looking guys there for him to not be attracted to anybody. It ended up seeming like he wasn't attracted to anybody. This is one thing that I always talk about, is that you have to be in the right environment in order to open up and in order to be your best social self. I don't know if this is the right environment for him. He was the one who was talking about Tinder and the club not being the best environment. But when you get into a situation where you have a bunch of guys here that are here for you, I don't know a better situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the time where you open up and you get to talk to people. You don't need to be approached by anybody. You're kind of running the show here. So then we get into lap dancing. I thought it was a fun challenge to kind of show off a different side of the guys, to kind of see who's really confident, who is willing to just let loose and be fun, and who's really conservative and really kind of closed off. Unfortunately, only 2 guys actually jumped up and did it. And in both cases, Lionel was not feeling it. Of course, Dennis was feeling D's lap dance a lot better. After that, it was time for the friends and the bachelors to pick their dates. Lionel didn't seem to like anyone, like I said, but his friends picked Mike. And that was the dude who said, I got a seat open for you, blah, blah, blah. And that he said that to Dennis. You want to pick Mike for me? That would be a good choice because he showed initiative. He showed that he was confident. Like, he showed that he was here for it. Lionel, I don't know. I don't know if he wasn't feeling anybody. So it's like he could have picked anybody. I can't say that it was a bad choice because it seems like anybody would have been a bad choice for Lionel in this case. But Lionel himself picks Kelvin. And we didn't see him speak to Kelvin at all. And he said he only spoke to him for like a second. So it seems like he's only purely going off of looks and vibes. And I'm like, well, if you want to pick right, you gotta dig a little bit deeper. He didn't seem confident in his pick of Kelvin. He didn't seem confident enough in his friends picking for him. He didn't seem confident in talking to anybody. And I think we are seeing a common denominator here, which is that Lionel needs to work on his confidence. And so I'm hoping that he does because, this could have been so much easier and better for him. If he just understood that, I'm the shit, like I can talk to anybody and it's going to be okay. Like, that's kind of the attitude that you have to have. So then it was Dennis's friend's turn and they picked D. And I was just like, oh gosh. I mean, I guess they knew who Dennis's type was, and D fit the bill. And so I guess from a friend's perspective that they picked well because they knew who Dennis would be attracted to. But okay, Dennis seemed happy with that pick. Dennis then picked Lonnie. I was happy that Dennis picked Lonnie because they seem to be the best match. They're clearly attracted to one another. They already have that connection, that Ohio connection. Yeah, it seemed like, a no-brainer, and I'm glad that he picked him and didn't go with somebody else. But then Dennis said that he seemed moldable. So I'm going to give Dennis the benefit of the doubt on this one. Based on his definition of moldable and based on the way that he kind of tried to fix what he was saying, it seems like he meant that Lonnie was flexible and more able to compromise and not have to battle for every single thing because, there are a lot of guys who are very stuck in their way and very much don't want to ever compromise about anything. And that's just not how relationships work. So I'm hoping that that's what Dennis was talking about. And then one of the guys at the very end talked to Coffee after the whole thing was over. Went and talked to Coffee and they stepped on outside. So good for you. I thought that was a boss move. I mean, and that is like the kind of confidence that you have to have in these situations. I am looking forward to seeing how this group date goes. I don't have high hopes for Lionel's connections. I mean, I guess somebody has to win The Bachelor, but my feeling is that whoever that winner is not going to stick around for very long. For Lionel. Now for Dennis, I feel like based on what I see right now, him and Lonnie would be a good match going on to the end. And I think they could potentially be something that's sustained. Let's see what happens next week. And thank you all for watching. Again, I'm Jarrod D. King. And please follow me on Twitter at Jarrod D. King. And I will talk to you guys next week. Peace.